Algebra 2 Notes 6.7 Inverse Functions. Go ahead and turn to page 9 in your packet. We are going to review domain and range. So looking at the relation given, domain, that would be all the x values. So try to put them in order, smallest to biggest. So domain would be the 2 would be the smallest, and then we've got 4, 6, 8, and 12. You can just list it out like that. So why don't you guys go ahead and list the range. All right, the range should be 3, 5, 7, and 20. Notice since the 7 happened twice, we just need to write it once. All right, so the inverse of the function is found by reversing the order of the elements. So we can just switch the x and y around. So if our original relation was 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 8, 3, if we find the domain and range, looking at the x and y values, the inverse of the relation, we're just going to flip the order. So the domain then would be 1 and 3, and then the range would be 0, 2, 4, and 8. All right, what are the graphs of the relation t and its inverse? So right here we've got a set of ordered pairs, not necessarily a graph to connect the dots, just a relation. We're just going to make the dots on our graph. So let's go ahead and plot these points out. So 0, negative 5, we're going to go left and right 0 and down 5. Okay, then 1, negative 4, 2, negative 3, and 3, negative 3. Go ahead and plot those last 2 points. All right, so 2, negative 3, 3, negative 3. So that is your function t. If I wanted to do the inverse, then I'm just going to reverse the order. So instead of 0, negative 5, it's going to be negative 5, 0. Instead of 1, negative 4, negative 4, 1. Okay, instead of 2, negative 3, flip the order, negative 3, 2. And finally, negative 3, 3. So again, go ahead and plot those points. Negative 5, 0, a 5 up 0, negative 4, 1. Go ahead and do those last 2 points. So negative 3, 2, and negative 3, 3. All right, so an inverse relation or an inverse equation or graph will always reflect over the line y equals x. So you'll see on all these graphs, I'm going to put this line down the middle where we start at 0, 0, up 1 over 1. It's just the line y equals x. And notice that these points are just flipping over that red line to get these points. So that's kind of a good way to kind of check and make sure you did it right. All right, let's go to the next one. What is the inverse of y equals 2x plus 8? So first thing we're going to do, let's go ahead and graph that original function. Now, plus 8 is kind of going to go off of our graph. So if you can imagine 6, 7, 8 starting up here, and then slope of 2, down 2 over 1, be at 6, down 2 over 1 would be there at 4. So you could do that. Otherwise, you could just plug in a point. Like if you plug in when x is negative 2, 2 times negative 2, negative 4 plus 8 is 4, negative 2, 4. So somehow graph that first equation. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the inverse. So how do we find the inverse equation? What we're going to do is flip around the x and y. So we started y equals 2x plus 8. We're going to flip it around and make it be x equals 2y plus 8. Okay, step 2, now solve the inverse equation for y. So you have x equals 2y plus 8. You're going to try to get y by itself. So if we want to get y by itself, the first thing we need to do is subtract the 8 to the other side. So it's going to be x minus 8 equals 2y. And then to get rid of the 2, we can divide both sides by 2. Divide by 2, divide by 2. So you get x minus 8 all over 2 is your equation. But to help us graph that, if you kind of break this back apart and make it 1/2 x, and then 8 over 2 would be 4. 1/2 x minus 4. So your starting point, if we wanted to graph this out, would be down 4, and then slopes 1/2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, and so on. All right, we will do some more of these. So if you didn't catch these two graphs, we're going to do some more with more detail in here in just a minute. So remember that the inverses will always reflect over that line y equals x. So if you want to put that line in there that goes from 0, 0, up 1 over 1, and so on, I always make that in red. Your two graphs should reflect over that line. All right, we're going to do some of the ones on your assignment together. So let's go ahead and turn to the assignment now. All right, let's go ahead and turn to the assignment on page 11 and look at number 3. All right, so number 3, we have y equals 3x plus 1. So the first thing, let's just go ahead and graph that. So think about how we graph that. We can start at that plus 1 on the y-axis. So we're going to come up here and make a dot at 1. And then from there, we can go up 3 over 1. So make a dot at 1. And our slope is 3. So we can go up 1, 2, 3, right 1 since it's positive. Then we can do that again. Up 3, right 1. Up 3, right 1. Go down 3, left 1. And so on. All right, step 2 would be find that inverse equation. So we're going to flip the x and y around and solve for y. So make it x equals 3y plus 1, subtract that 1, and divide by 3. So x minus 1 all over 3, we can rewrite 1/3 x minus 1/3. All right, now that one's not a very nice one to graph because you're starting at negative 1/3. So an alternate, instead of starting at negative 1/3, you can use the original graph, remember like that inverse relation, and just flip one of the points around. So you can see down here, one of the points on the original graph was 0, 1 right here, 0, 1. We can just flip that around and make it 1, 0. So if we make the point 1, 0, there it would be. And then now we can do the slope. So the slope of our inverse was 1/3. So now I can go up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3, and so on. Okay, we can go down 1, left 3. And go ahead and connect. Okay, and just to make sure it looks like it's the inverse and it's reflecting over that inverse line, y equals x, you can put that down the middle. So notice they all kind of meet up at the same spot. That's what you want to have happen. All right, what I want you to do is go ahead and pause the video and try number 4. So try number 4 on page 11. Pause the video. All right, so for number 4, y equals negative 3x plus 4. It's kind of written backwards. But when you graph the original, y equals negative 3x plus 4, you can start at 4, go down 3 over 1, down 3 over 1, since it was a slope of negative 3. Okay, if we find the inverse, again, this one wasn't a very nice looking starting point, 4/3. So it could start at 1 1/3. But another thing we could do is just take that original starting point, 0, 4, and flip it around and start at 4, 0. And then we don't have to worry about that fraction. So if I start at 4, 0, then my slope is negative 1/3, down 1 over 3. Down 1 over 3. And then we can double check. Are they reflecting over each other? And they are. All right, let's go ahead and jump to number 6 here on page 11. Number 6, y equals x minus 2 squared. So first of all, let's graph that out. So it's the parabola, move 2 to the right. So if you can think of that parabola, move 2 to the right, then we have 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, and the other side, negative 1 squared is 1, negative 2 squared is 4, negative 3 squared is 9. So there's the original. For your equation, flip that x and y around. So it's going to be x equals y minus 2 all squared. So then what we can do is take the square root of both sides. But remember, when you take the square root of both sides, you've got to put that plus or minus in front. Okay, so plus or minus the square root of x equals y plus 2. And then we can move that 2 to the other side. Okay, now we have not learned how to graph a square root function yet. So what we can do for this graph is use the points from the blue graph there, the original graph, and just flip the coordinates. So from that blue graph, we have the point 2, 0, 3, 1, 4, 4, 5, 9, and so on. So just flip the order. So instead of 2, 0, we're going to flip that around and make it 0, 2, and plot that point. Okay, the next point was 3, 1. Instead of doing 3, 1, we're going to do 1, 3. 4, 4 flipped is still 4, 4. 5, 9 would be 9, 5. So starting at 0, 0, we're going right 9 and up 5. And you can kind of see that it's just like the parabola, but laying on its side. Okay, so you might be able to finish it from here. Otherwise, just go back to those points. And we're kind of getting that left side in there, which had negative or 1, 1 from 0, 0, 1, 1. So flip it around. It's still going to be 1, 1. And then 0, 4. Then it's going to be 4, 0. And negative 1, 9, 9, negative 1. And there's the inverse. Okay, you can always do that line right down the middle, y equals x line, to make sure they all line up. It looks pretty good. All right, so work on this page 11 and 12. We will have time to continue working on this tomorrow in class. So page 11 and 12 due Thursday. If you need to watch the notes slower, they are posted online. Feel free to go online and watch them again tonight.